Baton Rouge's violence is one of the top cities in the country as far as murders. Violence here is different in other places. It's hard to shake. It's a place where a lot of young kids don't have a lot of opportunities to, enhance, their imagination or even, have opportunities to go further in life. There's a lot of drugs, a lot of violence, and just situations where kids are just stuck in cycles that they can't break.
They had so many different places, so many different hoods that didn't get along, and guys really just found their outlet through drugs or on the basketball court through sports.
10 years ago, I felt like crime was bad. We would go on duty and we'd get called out anytime that there was a homicide in town. The prosecutor would go to the scene. There were occasional weeks where it was a little rough, but there were also a lot of weeks where we didn't get called out at all. Clearly, that's not the case anymore.
It's a means of survival when it comes from the community that we grew up in. If you don't have a certain amount of violence within you, you'll be labeled as weak.
That's the place we grew up in. That's the kind of guys that came out of Baton Rouge, and that's the reason a lot of guys have that hunger and have that fight in them because they had to go through so much.
If you get caught up in doing the wrong things or, being with the wrong people, you could easily lose your life or be doing life.
Despite the rising crime in Baton Rouge, Paulette Francis still remembers how she felt on March 17, 1987, when she gave birth to her son, Ryan Francis.
Like a new mom. Like a new mom. Wasn't just excited to have him, a boy. Excited to have a boy. He was my second. I had miscarriage a couple of years before that. And I had 3 more miscarriages after that.
Although he was the only child, Ryan did not grow up alone.
It was like 7 of 8 of us in a 1-bedroom house. I had all of my nieces came from New Orleans and I had them living with me.
Yeah. A lot of boy cousins, it was almost like he wasn't a single child, like he had a lot of brothers.
We was always moving different neighborhoods, South Baton Rouge, Prescott, L. Scott.
It was on L. Scott where Ryan began to build a bond with his best friend, Marcus.
Ryan and Marcus, they were friends, they were good friends.
I met Ryan in the 3rd grade, me, him, and his cousins and my brother, we was all in the same classroom. We all loved sports and we kind of like stayed right down the street from each other. All we really did was play basketball, play football, baseball. We had a court at the end of our street.
Shot ball every day together. Then we went to school together, so it just kind of went from there. I call him half man, half amazing, No matter what the situation was, he'd make the best out of it and make it feel like it was really nothing, no matter how big it was.
He was a jokester. He loved to joke. He was a comedian. But when it came to business, he was serious. When it was time to get down, he was serious.
He was an all-around athlete. He played baseball, football, basketball. He was good at pretty much whatever he did, he was good at. He didn't care what it was, who it was. He was ready for whatever,
He was 5 when he started playing basketball. He started off, me and this lady met, we was talking, and she said her husband had a basketball team. It was the Cardinals. So he started at 5 and been playing since.
Ryan continued to develop his skills through rec leagues until 7th grade, when he joined the Park Forest Raiders.
Our middle school coach, we just made the team, Ryan, he was pretty good, but he didn't really play a lot, But I'll never forget our middle school coach told us, he said, it's gonna be some guys on this team, who get a lot of playing time. You're gonna go on and you may not have that big of a high school career or college career. You may not even play after middle school. And then they have some guys who don't play as much here. You may go on to have a great high school career and, a big time college career. And that always stuck with me, especially thinking about Ryan because he wasn't the guy in middle school, but in high school, in the game, it's like, man, get the ball to Ryan, because Because, I mean, he was going to make something happen with the ball.
I think even though Louisiana is a football state, you talk about basketball in Baton Rouge, there's always something very, very special about it. The Southern Lab teams that were a dynasty, McKinley has always been a traditional power, and of course Scotlandville, it's nothing ever remains the same.
Glen Oaks has a rich history in basketball, having won 23 district titles, 4 state championships, and 6 parish championships. It just breeds winning. When you win, people want to be a part of that. And that is one of the reasons why we have been successful, because parents and players want to be around those kind of programs that are successful.
If you ask anybody around the city of Baton Rouge about Glen Oaks, the first thing they think about is the basketball program. The culture pretty much was work hard, be a good person, and do the right thing.
It really starts and finishes with Coach Adger. He is such a meticulous individual, and he demands excellence, from his kids.
Coach Adger is a legend. He's a guy that's been in Louisiana high school basketball for a long, long time. He's had the chance to bring up a lot of great players.
When you put that together with athletic excellence, it's a win-win situation. Everybody's familiar with the teams from the 90s, obviously, with Lester Earl and Corey Powell and Tony Cole and those guys. They had a nice run of championships.
And it's expected to win, there. Every kid, boy, that goes there, they want to play basketball. So to play there, it's an honor, it's a privilege.
It's probably one of the toughest things I've ever committed myself to being a part of doing. It was several times going through my head, I'm like, I'm quitting. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this no more. We had practice at 7 in the morning, so you have to be there like on weekends, 7 in the morning. So you have to be there at 6:30. If you're there at 6:30, you're late. So I could just remember waking up in the middle of the night at 2 in the morning, or 4 in the morning, jumping out my bed thinking I'm late for practice. I mean, if you're late, Coach Alger, he was gonna really deal with you.
He wanted the best of us. He wasn't gonna settle for anything mediocre. He wanted us to work hard, and he really taught us not the game of basketball, but also the game of life.
He constantly talked to us and told us, the right things to do as a man, as a young black man, and he challenged us to be good at everything that we do.
The basketball culture and leadership of Coach Adger led Ryan to Glen Oaks High School.
I met Ryan the spring of his 8th grade year going to Glen Oaks. He was at Park Forest Middle. I met him in the barber shop over off Winburn. He was getting his hair cut. I was getting my hair cut in another chair. He walked up to me, asked me if I coached at Glen Oaks, and said he wanted to come to school over there.
My assistant coach, Jeff Jones, mentioned that they have a young player over there at Park Forest that we might want to get on. And sure enough, turned out to be true.
He brought him in, and it was me, Jacoby, and Ryan, and Cornell. We all together pretty much all the time. I can remember us telling teachers that, you could pretty much book us a room in Lafayette. That's when the top 28 was in Lafayette. You can book us a room our junior year, but for sure our senior year, we'll win it.
He was not a 6'6", 6'7" type young man, but as I said, pound for pound, that 5'11" and a half body delivered. When he first came on board his 9th grade year, that first semester was kind of a roller coaster. 9th graders coming in, they getting adjusted to the environment.
I'll never forget, he got his grades at the semester. Coach Adger got on, as our head coach, he got on him about his grades. He actually teared up in the locker room. His coach told him he wouldn't be able to play, and that's when I saw basketball was really important to him. He struggled that first year, maybe 1.6, 1.7, kind of getting adjusted to it. And he got it progressively better, each year. I think he finished with like a 3.1.
When that light came on, and he realized what his meaning for being here was to achieve academically and to achieve athletically. The light came on, and he turned things around after the first semester of his 9th grade year.
He was tough on them. He believed in discipline, and that's what I really like. He believed in discipline. And I think that really helped a lot of kids. When the coaches give them discipline, they respect themselves and respect the coaches. And I think that helped a lot of kids.
By the end of his freshman year, he started getting varsity playing time. Torrey Beaulieu, who was a good friend of his, Torrey is probably the one who really helped him with his academics and as well as adjusting.
We all worked hard, you know, me, Ryan, Kobe, Cornell, we all were at the school before school started, 6 in the morning, shooting, before we even went to class.
I've had some great athletes come through here. You know, the Lester Earl, the All-American that we coached, felt like it'd be very difficult to top that performance. You know, for him to come in as a 9th grader Lester Earl and to win 3 state titles back to back to back. And when Ryan Francis and his crew came through that door and he said, Coach, no disrespect to Lester Earl and what they have accomplished, he said, but we want to be remembered as well. And he took his teammates on his back and he delivered.
Ryan was a natural leader. You know, in the games, Ryan will always encourage you. You know, it's like being on the floor with him, it was like, man, I'm safe, you know.
He pushed people, and he never wanted really on the spotlight to be on him. He tried to make everybody else better around him.
Now, junior year, we were in the top 28, and we were playing Washington Marion, and we're up like 13-5. And he had like 8 of our first 13 points. And then a guy fouled him real hard going to the basket and broke his collarbone in the first quarter.
And I think we could have beat them had he come back in that second half, but he could not play the second half because his collarbone was broken. When the assistant coach said, Coach, he won't be able to go because he can barely raise that arm, and we just say, Ryan, let's just suck it up. You know, you've played hard, you got your team here. We got another year with you.
And that kind of killed the team at that point because Ryan was our leader.
So he got knocked out, you know, couldn't do any AAU because his collarbone got broken in March. And, you know, then he gets past that. And then once he got cleared, 2 weeks later, he ends up in a car wreck in which he broke his wrist.
I think he was getting ready to take Derek home. It was him, Derek, and Jared. And he had fell asleep. Mother was tired. He fell asleep at the wheel.
I just remember being on the interstate. I was in the back seat, and I asked Ryan, was he straight, you know, for driving, because it kind of seemed like I seen him swerving a little bit, but he never went out of his lane. And I remember asking him, you straight, Lil' Cutting? And he looked back at me from the driver wheels, you know, kind of slow, like, I'm straight. And I remember Black Boy asking him, too, if he wanted him to drive, and he said he was straight. So he put his seatbelt on, laid his seat back, and he went to sleep. And I guess I went to sleep after him. And I don't really remember what else happened after that. All I know is I woke up 3 days later out of coma. The situation was real, real crazy. Nobody knew exactly who was dead, who was alive, who was at fault. It was crazy, you know, it was real, real crazy. A nurse was passing by that actually had just got off, and she stopped and helped on the scene. So that actually what kept him alive.
When we first got to the hospital, they was rolling him out of surgery to his room. And, you know, I saw him and, you know, he was still like kind of sedated or whatever. I mean, it was just a terrible feeling just to see, you know, my homeboy like that. But, you know, he got better. We stayed at the hospital the whole time he was there, sleeping in the hallways and stuff like that.
I know Ryan had a hematoma where your head swell up and your head swell and the brain swell. He had that, and he broke his jaw. He had to get his mouth wired. But everybody came out well, thank God.
You know, he lost a lot of weight when he had that car accident. But, you know, we had an assistant coach at Glen Oaks who, you know, took him under the wing that summer and was working him out at the Spectrum, and that's when he started to, you know, catch his fire. Every
day I would take him to Spectrum and work him out, and he couldn't use the right hand at all, so he learned to shoot with his left hand. And we go to the gym every day. If I didn't, call him, he'd call me.
He just got in the gym nonstop, and you couldn't get him out of the gym after that. And he felt at that time he had something to prove, and he just got in and went to work. He was relentless after that accident.
Once Ryan was cleared to return to the court, he joined the Sports Academy AAU team to showcase his skills on a national level.
Go down to AAU Nationals is in Orlando, Florida. And, the Dream Team, we just played a game. Sports Academy team, a team from Baton Rouge, they about to play. So we, go and sit down and watch. And Sports Academy at that time, they're getting ready to play against the #1 player in the nation, Louis Williams. Louis Williams, he got drafted straight out of high school. Well, that game, Ryan destroyed Louis Williams.
Man, Ryan went off. He shut that #1 guard down, or the top-ranked guard down to hardly no points, and then scored like 30 points.
He was killing. He was shooting from all over. He was all over the court. I ain't never seen him play that good.
I can remember after that game, Louis Williams just grabbing him and hugging him.
When he got out on the AAU circuit and he was around other players that were just as good or better, his skill level, his confidence level began to flourish. And when you're out there playing against other outstanding guards and other outstanding players, it just gave him the confidence that he needed. And when he came back in August, you could see that he was different. There was something about him. The unassuredness, the lack of confidence, all that had vanished. It was a different Ryan Francis.
By his confidence being so high, it kind of rubbed off on everyone else. And everybody on the team just started challenging everyone.
And he's saying, cuz I'm starting to feel it. I say, what you mean you starting to feel it? He was like, I'm starting to feel the game.
He knew that this senior year was going to determine how far he go in life. And he pushed himself. Everybody else pushed him too. He was #1.
He just made everybody else so much better around him. And that's what great players do.
I don't think any team in the state worked as hard as those young men did. And that's why I was so happy, and they deserve, what they got in 05 when they went undefeated and won a state title.
That year was incredible. I don't think Coach Adger had to coach us as much that year as he had in previous years because we had a leader on the court. Ryan actually did a lot of coaching that year, from calling timeouts to talking to us in the huddles. He was an extension of Coach that year. And he wanted to win so bad that he wouldn't let none of us mess up.
If you played basketball around this area and you knew about that Glen Oaks team, you knew that they all was together from freshmen to seniors. In Baton Rouge, that's hard to do, to have a group of guys come in as freshmen and, stay in school, stay focused.
We all, sacrifice different things. When I was at Bel Air, I actually was the leading scorer on my team my sophomore year. I transferred over to Glen Oaks. Torrey Boyer, he actually was the district MVP his junior year. Troy, Troy was a pretty good player. Jacoby was a pretty good player. Any one of us could have been a star at another school, and all of us sacrificed all of that, to make something special out of that team. And I think that's why we were so successful.
It just felt like a family. We did everything together. We spent all of our time together, from basketball practice to after practice, going to somebody's house, just going to the mall together on Saturdays. We were really a family.
They loved each other, they cared about each other, and they had each other's back. And when you see that with a group of young men, it pulls you closer to them as a coach, because we knew that there was no one that was going to come in between us.
You can just see that that group was special. They had a connection in winning, and playing basketball. Chemistry is one of the most important things, and you can tell that, they had a lot of chemistry on the court and off the court also.
Well, I don't think you could play the kind of defense they did and the kind of things that they had without having team chemistry. And it wasn't just team chemistry, it's a matter of team trust. They knew that the other guy was going to be there.
They had a lot of close games. A lot of them.
Most memorable game of that season would probably be, to me, that McKinley game against McKinley High School in the second round of the playoffs.
I think we went to 3 overtimes that game, and we was in the South at McKinley, and it was crazy. The atmosphere was crazy.
The way the game was played, it was tight, it was tough. It was nip and tuck, the whole ball game. It could have gone either way, because this was going to be the game that's going to send the next team on to the Final Four. So we knew right then that was a game that we had to win.
They had that mentality of, we're not going to lose. There's no way that we're going to lose this game.
It was in the 3rd overtime, and Ryan had the ball at the top of the key. You know, if you don't come play us man to man, we was gonna hold the ball, make you come guard us. So McKinley, they set back that whole third overtime. They set back, and I remember Ryan being at the top of the key. And with like maybe 10 or 8 seconds left, Ryan made his move, and they had like a 6'10" dude, Jerome. He stepped up on Ryan, and Ryan got the shot off. And I remember I was on the left wing, and I just came out of nowhere. Still to this day, I don't know how I got that tip. And I tipped the ball in. It was crazy, man. That was like something I'd never forget right there.
I can remember Coach Alger just like kind of trotting around the 3-point line, just going crazy, man. Everybody ran on the court. It was crazy. That was a crazy night. I still remember that.
We were able to pull that game off, and I tell you what, I was crossing my fingers and my toes and my legs. Let's win this one. Let's win this one. Because had we lost that ball game, you know, I don't know if I could ever live it down, because they had something special going.
It really didn't even dawn on us that we were undefeated. We were just winning basketball games, having fun. And when we actually got to the Dome, that's when we knew, man, we got a chance to win this thing and go undefeated.
We worked so hard that we, you know, had so much experience because all of us played a lot as juniors. We felt like, you know, we did too much work to lose a game.
It didn't take coach to motivate them. They motivated themselves, you know, because they wanted to win. Once he instilled that in them, they just ran with it, and they just kept it up.
They had that picture in their minds a whole while from day one when they came through the door. After losing, getting there, their junior year and not completing it, they had some unfinished business. And that was to pile up in the middle of that court in the Cajun Dome. And it was just one unbelievable sight to behold.
I remember before the game, man, it was crazy because Coach came to give the pregame speech as usual, and man, Coach broke down crying. And when we seen that, man, we was like, man, we finna do this, man, because you'll never see Coach like that. That was the one and only time you ever see Coach Adger like that. And after that, man, that crunked us up. We got hype, man. We play Bossier City on Shreveport, man. I know we went and beat them by like 24.
I can still remember it, counting down, everybody on the bench celebrating, the clock hitting 0. I can still remember just running and diving in the middle of that floor, all of us, you know, hugging, and it's like, man, we went undefeated, 36-0.
After winning the championship, it was like this big weight lifted off our shoulders because we had been the previous year, and for Ryan to go out the way he did, and we finished the way we did, it wasn't enough. And just to have that ending and the victory at the end, it was just amazing.
Oaks Panther Ryan Francis gets a hug from Torrey Ballou, Harvey Adger, and just about everybody else in red and black.
That team was kind of crazy because they started 4 guards and 1 big. And if you call Charles Cage a big, then okay. But they started 4 guards and they got after you. So for them to go on and win a championship, you know, that was big.
Just, you know, being a small team from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, you know, we made history. We went 36-0. We didn't have no superstars on our team. We just had a team, you know. Ryan Francis, our best player. It was just a family, you know, just some small dudes from Baton Rouge, and we accomplished that, you know. So it was crazy. That whole year was crazy, man, because like I say, we didn't have any superstars, and just to accomplish something of that nature and win a state championship and just be normal, you know, that's why it was so real. It was crazy.
Outstanding player in Class 4A, number 12, Ryan Francis.
The MVP of the state championship game was Ryan. He deserved it. He had been our MVP all season.
He had a good game. He had a good game. I mean, he was doing some things like, you know, you don't think a player can do that, but he had a good game.
I tell you what, Ryan Francis, pound for pound, was a young man that anyone would be proud to have coached. A once-in-a-lifetime type of player that comes through that door that said, we're going to get it done.
From our team, that undefeated team, probably had about 5, 6 guys went to college. I think all the seniors went to college, you know, somewhere on scholarship. So,
you know, Torrey Boyer goes to Loyola. You know, Troy Cage signs with UNLV, goes to UNLV. Devin Grisby goes to college. Brandon White goes to Southern. You know, you probably had 7. Jacoby Shannon goes to college. You probably had 7 kids off that team that went on to play college basketball. That's kind of unheard of.
Well, Ryan was being recruited by a lot of mid-low majors, you know, the University of Lafayette. And I can remember them, they stand out because he committed to them at first, you know. That's where he made his commitment to go play at. But as the year kept going on, he started getting some bigger offers.
I think UL was the only school that really was recruiting him hard. Whenever he got ranked, that's when I really think that's when people started coming to check him out or whatnot.
When he got a chance to play against some of the other tough guards that are out there that were ranked in the top 10, the top 25 players in the country, that's when he began to get his notoriety, that he was a ball player to be reckoned with.
We went to a game and they had a press conference afterward. And after the press conference, so me and Ryan sitting, we split in and go in the coach's office, and College Temple come in. And they was talking and we was all talking. I was like, I just want to know why y'all hadn't offered Ryan. Ryan the best point guard in the state of Louisiana. I said, we need to get him. He don't need to leave here. And they was like, oh man, yeah, you know, he got it. You know, he all right, but we got other people we looking at. And I say, who? I said, who's better than him? And I said, ain't nobody better than him. And Ryan was like, Coach, you know, he was Coach, you know, and I was just like, no, man. I said, y'all need to give him a scholarship. He better than everybody y'all got. And they were like, oh yeah, but then the coach, John Brady, I never forget it. He said, okay, this is what we'll do. We'll gray shirt him. So when I looked at Ryan and he looked at me, and I was like, gray shirt. I was like, what that is? You know what I'm saying? I said, that's like some kind of special thing. And it was like, no. But he just won't enroll in school. He just takes some hours. And then the next year, we red shirt him. And then the next year, he'll be ready. I say, so he gonna sit out 2 years and then you, and he the best. And they was like, yeah, that's how we do it. And I was like, no,
He was selected to play in an all-star game. And Coach Tim Floyd, who's now the head coach at UTEP, was watching him.
I knew nothing about what was going on in high school basketball because I had been in the NBA from 1998 to the year 2005. Not knowing any talent, I relied on some guys that I knew in college basketball many years ago. A man by the name of Mike G. Orlando, who had worked for us at the University of New Orleans, was working at Louisiana State University in Baton Rouge, called me and said, what are you looking for? And I said, well, we need to start with a point guard. And he says, I think I've got one for you. He says he's not being highly recruited. He's a kid playing out at Glen High School for a legendary high school coach by the name of Harvey Adger. And his high school team won the state championship, and they were 36-0, did not lose a game. And he's a tough little sucker that will guard the ball and can get you into play. And you might be able to get in there and get him. Everybody thinks he's too small, but think he can play for you.
Coach saw him play in a Louisiana All-Star game and called me from the All-Star game and said, I think I found one. This kid, you know, is very good. He's got great feet. He can get to the basket and score. He's really tough. He's competitive. He's exactly what I'm looking for. Can we start the process to find out more about his academics, find out more about his background, and in doing so, you know, start the recruiting process.
Just one day we just came to the gym, you know, basketball hour, and Tim Floyd was sitting in the gym, and that's when he met Tim Floyd. Ryan was like, man, I wonder who here to see. I was like, I'm pretty sure he here to see you. You know, I already signed already.
Went in and talked to Coach. Coach came out. You know, he introduced us to Tim Floyd. You know, told us to sit down. He introduced us to Tim Floyd. And Tim Floyd, you know, he told us, you know, he said, I'm here. You know, I hear you guys had a great season. You went 36-0. I hear you guys have some really good players on this team. He said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in the back. I'm going to watch, you know, some of this film of what Coach have. And then I'm going to come back out here and, you know, speak with you all. So we're like, okay. So, you know, going through, I wonder which film he go watch, you know, which film. It ain't take Coach 5 minutes. Didn't take him 5 minutes. Coach walks back out, he said, Ryan Francis? He was like, can I speak with you? You know, and he called Ryan over and, you know, the rest was history.
And sat down with him a day later with he and his mother, Paulette, and told him that we had an opportunity for him, that we thought he could be a guy that could change our program at the University of Southern California. And he was really, really excited about it. Came out for a visit, and he fell in love with our school, and we fell in love with him.
We all standing up there, he was signing his letter of intent to go to USC. Me and Brandon and Cassie and Ryan and Coach.
In Louisiana, we don't have many kids go far off for one. And, you know, USC is a private institution. It's probably one of the nicest campuses around. It's in Los Angeles. And that's kind of out of the norm for, you know, Baton Rouge, or, you know, that wasn't something that happens all the time. So it was big for everybody, including him and his family, for him to go and take that step.
At first, I think he was a little nervous about going to California by himself, you know, going that far away from his mom, and how was she going to be able to see him and see him play.
You know how people say, like, your best friend? And everybody say that was his best friend? That was my best friend.
You know, you're talking about a woman that came to every game, that loved her son unconditionally, no matter what he did. And you could just tell that, that they had a bond that was just unbreakable.
I guess you could say somewhat bittersweet, and knowing that his mother was here, and knowing that his friends were here, and having to go out there on the West Coast to that traveling, and will Mom get a chance to see me, or my friends get a chance to see me. I'm quite sure that weighed very heavily on his heart. But I thought that was the best decision that he could have made.
Young black man from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, I get to go stay in Southern Cal and go to USC, I'm going. And I don't think his mama was too excited about her baby being that far away. But she opportunity like that, she wasn't gonna stop him from doing that.
He wanted to go, but I told him if he needed me that I would move up there. And that was my plan. I was supposed to move up there.
Him going all the way to California kind of made me feel like best move you could possibly make. You did this to get away from where you at. You finally got a chance to get out, go for it.
Ryan came in on a Friday night in April. We went out to dinner, and I knew that this kid was special right off the bat. He was very charismatic. All he asked was, what can I do to help this team win? And after he committed during that summer, he would call me just about every week, asking me questions about what's practice like? What's campus like? What's a football game like? He was so excited, and you could tell that he was just chomping at the bit to get onto campus and to start his basketball career at USC.
He came in there with great respect for the college institution, wherever they are. Having come from high school, you hear horror stories about how hard college is. And he went in there worried about passing every class because basketball meant that much to him. There was no way he was going to flunk out. He could have been at MIT, but basketball was that important to him that he was going to do whatever he had to do.
Coach Floyd will tell you that even though he's not supposed to have favorites, Ryan was his favorite player.
Because of his dream to play at the highest level, and because Coach felt like not only did he find a player that he really wanted, but he found the full package and the kind of kid that he wanted, that it was a relationship that was built immediately, was strong, and it was built under respect.
He was like another Harvey, where he just got in him and, you know, and he respected him for, you know, for helping him and telling him the truth and keeping him in line. So it's like another Harvey there. They had a good relationship.
When Coach Floyd came in, he made this not only a team, but a family.
So Ryan was the young guy, and I think they all treated him like a little brother. There was an instant bond. Ryan won them over immediately, and he came and proved his value to the team.
He set the tone for this team. And when somebody wasn't pulling their weight, he would find a way to get the best out of them.
You know, I think he had a relationship in which they really respected him on the court. He was a freshman, but he wasn't afraid to challenge older players that were a year or two older than him because he wanted to win. He wanted to be the best. So if a player wasn't exactly maybe playing to their level, he had no problem calling them out, which a lot of freshmen would never do that.
When he came to SC and we opened up with Cal State Northridge, we went into overtime and we lost. Ryan shook everyone's hands, sprinted into the locker room, and broke out crying.
And we was all like, man, you all right, man? This ain't the championship game. And then Coach came in there like, see, this is the only person that cares about the game.
Nick Young and Gabe Pruitt and Lodrick Stewart had won 11 games the year before we got there. And somewhat maybe accustomed to getting beat and, you know, not overreacting to a loss. Ryan hadn't been beaten in 2 years, and we looked over at him and he was crying in the locker room. And I'll never forget that. It truly, truly bothered him.
You guys got to be feeling the loss tonight, but again, the team is young.
Yeah, we young, but we made a lot of mistakes. But I feel we just need to come closer as a team, and they played harder than us, and they showed that they wanted more than us.
Seemed like it was difficult to get the offense set up the way you wanted. Not too much penetration, a lot of perimeter ball handling and passing at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, they dictated our shots. You know, we took the shots that they wanted us to take. So we just gotta come back and work harder.
The next day, he walked into my office and told me that we needed to get rid of Nick Young, that we needed to get rid of Gabe Pruitt, that losing didn't bother those guys enough. Big memory. And I said, no, we're going to work through this, and you're going to make those guys better. And they all became very, very, very close.
For a lot of the guys that came off that last season at USC, where we were last place in the Pac-10, that was a big wake-up call for us. We were used to losing, to be totally honest with you. That was all we did that last year was we lost. We only won like 5 conference games. So we were used to that. So to see a freshman point guard take that loss so hard, it really kind of, I think, woke us up as a team and realized, hey, we need to change the culture of this team.
He had to readjust when he got to college, because he was used to working hard with Coach Adger, and when he got out there, he worked hard, but those guys, they didn't have the work ethics like Torrey and Ryan and Jacoby and Troy and Eric, you know, what they had. It was totally different, so he had to adjust. And when he adjusted and he kind of got them to work the way he was working, it got better.
It was amazing for anybody to come in as a freshman and be the point guard on a high-level team, and because you're kind of the leader on the court. He never seemed to struggle with that. I think as the year went on, he took a more and more of a leadership and scoring role, but for the most part, he was able to get right in there and get people's respect and kind of control the team.
Regardless of where it was, it didn't matter who it was, what time of day it was. When it came to basketball, he just had it. It was in him, you know. And his freshman year, he showed that.
The 1 year we played together was a miserable year for me practice-wise because he would always guard me. And if you knew anything about Ryan, the best part of his game was his defense. And because we were the two smallest players on the team, we were always matched up together when it came to full court dribbling drills, in which Coach Floyd would yell at Ryan to not let me pass half court. And he would never let me pass half court. He would always steal the ball from me or just push me around because he was so strong. And he had such a low center of gravity that he was able to anticipate where you were going and cut you off.
Probably the best on-ball defender that I'd ever coached. In our transition defense, we tried to get someone to stop the ball at half court, and he did an exceptional job of defending some of the elite point guards in the country. When you look at the Pac-10 conference and how good of a league that was and the players that he was able to compete against.
The thing that I remember most about Ryan Francis' freshman season at USC is when they played UCLA, and he absolutely killed Jordan Farmar.
Francis went right around one of the great defenders, Jordan Farmar. Here comes Young the other way. Ahead to Stewart. Lay it up, score it. Francis penetrates, gets into the lane, scoops one up. Count it, basket counts, foul.
He was just going at Jordan Farmar the whole game. And I'm like, Jordan Farmar is supposed to be the real deal, you know. But Ryan, you know, he was one of those guys that whenever it was a player of a certain stature that was supposed to be top notch, you know, Ryan, that's what Ryan always wanted. He always wanted to, I want to see what my game is. You know, I want to see if I'm as good as this guy.
I can remember the excitement growing and growing. That team created the presence there. They brought, oh, I want to be there. I want to see Nick and Gabe and Lod and Ryan. It was just awesome just to see the excitement grow.
We won games we shouldn't have won that year, hands down. We beat North Carolina at home. I think we were like 20-point underdogs. We beat Arizona at home when they were ranked in the top 20. We beat UCLA at home when they were ranked in the top 10. Those were games that people just wrote off and thought we shouldn't have won. But because we understood from Ryan that losing was unacceptable, we gave it our all for every game, whether it was a UCLA at home or a Washington State on the road. We would take every game seriously because, you know, we felt like we were letting people down if we lost, which is something completely different from the previous year before Ryan came on the team.
His freshman season at USC was unbelievable. Matter of fact, he was the freshman of the year. And his assist to turnovers, his toughness, one of his outstanding games were just to beat Roy Williams, North Carolina.
Marcus along with Jim Hefner. Tonight there's some excitement in the building. The national champions are here. The Tar Heels of North Carolina out in front of Lodrick Stewart. Stewart's pass underneath. Francis breaking for the goal. Receives it and scores. Nice play. 2 seconds. Young drives, scoops it up left-handed and scores it at the buzzer. Lodrick Stewart, long pass up the floor. Francis saves it in the corner.
North Carolina had just won the national championship. And, you know, they came to play USC at USC. And Ryan, he had a really good game, great hustle plays. You know, he actually controlled the guard position.
They had, you know, 7 All-Americans on the team. They came into the sports arena thinking they were just going to run us out of the gym.
Ryan came out and just really led the team, stole the ball, and had some great open court finishes, hit some great threes.
It was his cannon, and he was going to shoot it. Every time he had an opportunity, he was going to let people know that that guard was not getting by him to get into play. And he would literally give guys fits at the 10-second line.
I remember he had the ball, and all North Carolina player looked like they just came in on him.
And there was a span of about 3 or 4 minutes in the second half where Ryan literally took over. And he was stealing the ball, making layups, making tough layups, couple assists, hit Lott in the corner for a huge three, just getting after the point guard. And then one of my, I think, favorite moments of Ryan's career was when there was a loose ball. He dove on the loose ball, called the timeout, looked around at the ref, saw that he got the timeout, and he kind of stood up, and you can see in his face, he's realizing, we're gonna win this game. And he looks up and he sees the crowd and he just starts doing this, screaming, getting the crowd into it. And from that moment, North Carolina didn't have a chance.
Francis into the front court, Francis down the middle, alley-oop, Njai, slam dunk. That's the exclamation point. USC will beat North Carolina tonight.
They were the first team to beat North Carolina since winning the national championship.
The season was over. Guys have the freedom to do what they need to do when they need to do it. Brian just let us know that he was going to be going home for Mother's Day. And like we tell all of them, be careful.
I'm like, Brian, you can't keep coming home. It's expensive. And, you know, it's so far. Oh, Ma, I need to come. No, you don't need to come on. Just stay there. I said, no, I just want to come home for a little while. And I kind of begged him not to come home.
When Ryan came home before Mother's Day, Tori Boyer went to pick him up at the airport.
That Friday when I picked him up, we went to Glen High and worked out. We went in there and played, and he was a lot stronger.
I remember Ryan coming into the gym. You know, everybody was excited because, you know, Ryan was back. So it's like, man, he had a good year. I want to see him in person, see what he got. You know, I want to see what my game at. And I mean, Ryan, he was just way better than all of us when he came back.
He was a monster when he came back. He actually almost dunked on me that day. I didn't even know that he can dunk.
All I remember is Ryan taking the ball, dribbling it, and he just exploded up. And when Troy jumped up, Ryan put his forearm up, and Troy went flying all the way from underneath the goal to the wall at Glen Oaks, and Ryan tried to dunk it, but he missed, and I was like, dang, like, he was on a whole nother level. He was always fast, but he was even faster.
Coach Adger was, Troy, you know, that's what it's like at the next level. You better be ready, son.
When I looked at him and Tori, and just to see the body that he had put on, the muscles and the quickness and the athleticism, I was just floored. I was just mesmerized with his development.
We was all excited. We all wasn't together. It's been a while since we all been together, and you know, we was hooping, had a nice hoop session. You know, got a good run in, and afterwards, you know, we sat around the gym like an hour just talking, man, just catching up, and you know, just enjoying each other.
You know, that night, we just was gonna go out and have fun, and just so happened the only place that, you know, we kept hearing about, it was a club, so we went.
He came home, took a shower. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going with Tori them. He said, I'll be right back. I said, Ryan, I see you're tired. That's when I told him he was tired. I said, stay home and rest. He said, I'll be back. I said, okay. And he never made it back.
We went to a club and I saw Ryan, you know, so we chatted a little bit. I told him I was proud of him, how he did his freshman year. You know, how he making the city proud, you know, everybody behind him.
You know, we was all in the spot, just, you know, just having fun. And we dapped each other off. You know, I went my way, he went his way.
Clubs closed down at 1:45 down here. So we getting ready to leave out. Park side, I think I parked on the side of Marcus. Parked right there, and he was just like, I'm gonna go with them. I was like, cool. I'll see you in the morning, because we were supposed to play at Scotlandville the next morning.
We left the club, and actually we was on the way home, and we stopped by the little after hour spot right there on Plank Road. So it was kind of packed, so the security guard was outside. He was like, well, y'all got to leave, y'all got to leave. So we was leaving, heading down Windburn, and we got to the stoplight. We got to the stoplight, a truck pulled up on Silas. And when the truck pulled up on Silas, like you saw, the passenger like leaned over and looked in the car. And then he laid back, and then the truck ran the light. And then when the truck ran the light, I saw the door open. And as I saw the door open, the driver was getting out with a firearm. And I turned, going down the Acadian. And that's when you heard the shots. So as we was going down the Acadian, I was like, yeah, all right. And Ryan was like, I'm hit. So I turned the dome light on the car, and I see like he had like a little red dot right here. And I was like, Mark, is he all right? He was like, man, get him to the hospital, get him to the hospital.
The first thing I'm doing, I'm like, you know what I'm saying, just keep your hand over it. I'm telling him to keep his hand over it. But then like, not even like, right after he got shot, he started kind of like losing consciousness. So I started trying to give him like mouth to mouth, trying to just, you know what I'm saying, slapping him on the face, just trying to keep him awake until we got to the hospital. But I remember him, you know, like saying like I ain't gonna make it.
When we was coming up like on North Street, he was just like fading. And he was like, man, I love y'all. And like that was the last of it.
We called the hospital that we was going to on our way there, telling them that our friend had been shot, and we was bringing him to the hospital. And like when we got there, it still took them another good 3-4 minutes just to get him out the car and, you know what I'm saying, get him in the hospital. You know, they didn't let us go in, you know, they said that they're gonna come back out and, you know, let us know or whatever. So, you know, the next thing that we had to do, we had to make phone calls and let people know that, you know, Ryan had just got shot, you know, he was at the hospital.
I contacted Tor first, like Tor was the first person I talked to. And I want to say Marcus called Miss Paulette.
So I got the phone call about maybe about 2:30. I got the phone call and just said that they had an accident and it was at the hospital. And that's all they told me. So, you know, your mind get to wondering, okay, well, what's going on? So I didn't know until I got there. I didn't know then. And I saw all those kids out there, all those Glen kids and some other kids. I'm like, why all these people here? And I really don't remember if the doctor came out or did someone come in and tell me. I really don't, it's vague, you know. I just must have been in a shock or something because I really don't remember what they told me. And next thing I know, they say, well, he was shot. And I say, shot. And then after that, I really don't remember anything else.
When you walk up and you can see the shoes and the blood in the back seat, I asked where his mom was at, and she was in a waiting room. I think, and it was me and Cornell that went in there and was waiting with her for a little while, you know. Until they came back in and, you know, told us the news. And all we can do is try to be there for his mom, you know.
It was almost like a dream. It was like, you know, I couldn't imagine that he wouldn't. When I got there, it was like, I pulled in the hospital and they had a spot right in the front. Just like it was all set up for me to come right there in that spot. And I pull in and I walk in the hospital and I just couldn't. I mean, it was just, everything was going slow. People was talking and it was just like I was floating. You know, when I went in and seen Paulette and, you know, it was hard. It was so hard.
I remember pulling up to Baton Rouge General, and I pulled up, and what I remember, to my left, I seen Marcus Washington just screaming and saying, "Man, that should have been me. That's me, man. That was me." Then I see Tori. Tori was was crying, and I remember this girl named Erica was like, "He gone, Jacoby, he gone."
I received a message from a young lady that went to high school with us, and I'm like, what is she texting me for at this time of the night, you know? So, you know, I opened the message and I read it, and it said, you know, I thought you should know that your friend Ryan Francis has been shot and killed. And when I seen it, I hurried up and jumped out my bed, and the first person I called was Troy Cage. I mean, as soon as I seen it, I called Troy, and Troy answered the phone, and I heard it in his voice. He was actually crying, and he was like, the first thing he could say was, "It's true." You know, I didn't ask no question. I didn't say, you know, I just got a phone call, this or that. You know, the first thing Troy said was, "Man, it's true. He gone. He gone."
Immediately, I'm here thinking I'm dreaming, and I jump out of the bed and immediately get on my knees and start praying. You know, just, you know, if he's shot, just let him be shot, but don't let him be dead.
I was in Las Vegas about to do a Nike clinic and received a call in my hotel room that morning from Coach Bob Cantu on our staff. And he was devastated. I was in disbelief.
And Coach had asked me, and this is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do as a coach or just in general, is he said, "I need you to call all the players and tell them what happened, because it's going to spread on social media, it's going to be in the news, and we want our players to be aware of it first."
When Coach Cantu told me that Ryan had been killed that morning, that was, I just remember kind of falling down to one knee and just asking him if he could repeat that, because it didn't quite register, and I was sitting there not understanding what he was saying, that Ryan was shot and killed.
I just couldn't believe it. Like, he going home for Mother's Day, because I never had a teammate or something like that happen to one of my teammates. So that was the first for me. So when I was talking to Gabe, I was like, "Man, come on, you lying." He said, "Man, check, call the school, check with Coach Floyd." I'm not lying, bro. That's crazy. He told me the whole story, and I was like, it was sad. It was so sad, you know. And it happened on, you know, when you're going to see your mom for Mother's Day, you know. And that makes it the worst.
We made it to the hospital. Shit, it was like when Pac died. You know, almost nowhere to park. You know, everybody was out there. I mean, it was just unforgettable.
That just tells you how many people that Ryan had touched in just this short time here on Earth. But the scene there, it was a much sadder scene because he was just so young.
Man, it was like a million-man march out there, but everybody wasn't happy. Everybody was crying. You had people on this side of the parking lot that was just like, just so sad. And everybody that's on this side of the parking lot, like, they just wanted to retaliate.
It was more tension than anything to know that it's a big difference when you got a family member, a friend, best friend, boyfriend that's 100% thug, you know, been in the penitentiary back and forth, you know, few armed robberies or a few assault charges or what have you, and he died or get shot. Not saying it's okay, but it's understandable versus ball player, you know what I'm saying, being caught up in the middle of something and getting killed. It was like everybody couldn't understand it. It was so unreal, you know, but I mean, like I say, you know, things happen.
I think the doctor, someone asked me to come and viewed about it and I don't remember. I think Pat went. I didn't even go myself. I think Pat went. Because I don't remember anything after that. I don't remember nothing.
That was almost the worst thing I ever had to do in life. It was like me seeing my son there, because you know, all the kids, we were so close. You know, I done coached a lot of kids and been around a lot of kids, but me and them were so close. And for to see that happen, and for to see that, you know, for the go in that room to see him on that table like that, it's very hard. It's there's something no man or woman should ever have to see their child like that on the table.
Like the day after, it hurt even worse. Because when it really kick in, sink in, like, they ain't here no more. Like, this person gone. You'll never see this person again. You'll never smile with this person. You'll never hug this person again.
I can remember everything just seemed like it was moving slow. You know, I can remember going over by his mom's house, you know, checking on her. Everybody over at his mom's house, you know, just sitting outside and everything. And it was just a painful day.
I noticed it was a lot of people. I saw some people, some I remember, but some people I don't remember being here. It's just like, okay, it's a dream, I'm gonna wake up. But, no.
It's just like I had lost it. Walking through the gym, walking through the locker room, it's just not believing what had just transpired.
It was just devastating. We just could not believe that he was gone. There were memorials, there were tattoos, number 12. There were these wristbands that were made that I still have. Overwhelming disbelief and hurt.
Almost everybody I talk to say they still calling his phone, you know, so it was just unbelievable, you know. Shit happened so fast, you know, like I say, everybody said, I just saw him, I just talked to him.
Right as Ryan was leaving for the airport, we got in a huge argument, and I think we both said some things that you know, it was like a brotherly fight, and we both said some things to each other that weren't the greatest. And I think the last thing I said to him was I was disappointed in the way that he was treating this off season, and you know, if you're going to be soft, don't come back. And I regret that.
Coach Floyd immediately contacted the administrators at SC and said, you know, I want to get out in front of this and I want to handle it the right way. I want us to provide a funeral and us to be the ones that handle everything. We don't want Paulette to have to worry about anything.
Mike Garrett, our athletic director, handled it in a first-class and professional manner. He insisted that all of our players would be at the funeral. They all wanted to go, but he insisted that the school was going to pay for it, and our guys were going to be dressed right, and they were going to represent this young man in the right way.
I had never really even been to a funeral. And Coach said, you know, I'd like for you to help arrange this. So I stayed in Baton Rouge for 7 days. Coach got down there, I think, the third day, and literally step by step had to work with Paulette on all the details of the funeral.
He said, don't worry about nothing. He said, I got it. And he just started taking over. He did all the arrangements and everything, and Cassie did the program. They didn't want me to do, they didn't want me to do anything. I really couldn't do anything. They took care of everything for me.
I had to find a way to be strong to support Paulette, because in that moment, it's not about you, it's about her. And so that's what we did as a coaching staff, and Coach came down, and we were really with her, you know, all day, every day.
Yesterday, a man said to me, the funeral was extremely sad. You know, our team, you know, we all sat by each other, you know, and I can remember just guys just crying from the time we walked in the church and to the time we walked out the church.
When I walked through that door, I remember seeing his body in the casket, and man, I just broke down. Like I couldn't even make it to the front of the church, and like I just broke down. That's what I really boo-hooed, like, cried like a baby.
I couldn't even look at him. To see him there, the way he was, that was one of the hardest things I've ever experienced in my entire life. To know he is right there, but he's not right there. And to know I can't say sorry to him and have him respond back. That was really, really tough.
It's just, it's different. Different. You know, you hurt every day. You go through it, you know, thinking he's gonna come walking through that door. My phone is gonna ring, but it's not.
I remember walking up to the casket, you know, and really just, you know, not crying, I didn't want to cry because I wanted to be able to say the things that I wanted to say to him, and, you know, just, you know, I kissed him, and I just, you know, I knew, I just felt that he was listening to me, and I just wanted him to know how much I loved him, and, you know, how much I was gonna miss him, and, you know, that, you know, it's just tough, you know. I wasn't ready for him to leave, but, you know, whatever he could do, just look down on me and just be there in spirit for me, because I knew it was gonna be just hard for me.
Having to speak at the funeral and to try to recover and try to reflect on all the things that we had gone through in the 4 years that he was here, you can imagine that it was even rougher. It was tough to have to get up to that mic and have to, again, bury another player.
The joy and pleasure in which he played the game of basketball could easily be paralleled with some of the greats to have ever played.
And I'm saying to myself, that should be me in that casket and not him.
I'll never forget when they closed Ryan's coffin, and that was the last time we were going to see him. The raw emotion from people in the crowd was something that I had never seen firsthand or experienced before.
It really didn't hit me until everybody was getting up, walking out of the church, and it was my turn to get up and walk with the line. And I was like, damn, I ain't gonna never see my nigga again, bro. And I had looked back. I looked back at the casket, and it hit me again. Like, that was it. There ain't no more coming back.
It was hard to, you know, for him to, you know, not to be here to see his mama and to die like that. It was just, I still don't want, I want to know all the questions. I got so many questions to ask people, and I just never did, you know what I'm saying? Because I know how I am, And it's, you know, this could have been avoided. I keep saying that, but it all could have been avoided. If all could have been avoided, you know.
In this particular case, when you're dealing with a 19-year-old, probably he has no idea what he's putting those families through, and probably being 19 once myself, probably doesn't really care about what other people are feeling or going through at the time. I mean, when you're 19 years old, you're narcissistic, you're focused on you. I'm sure DeAnthony Ford was focused on his well-being and not anybody else's.
They could have stopped this. Somebody could have stopped this and said, hey man, we had something going on at my house. We had something happen. Somebody could have said, hey, I can't let you go with us. You know, I can't let you, something happen. Or just, you know, it wasn't nothing that this could have been avoided.
A lot of people gonna say, well, they feel like it was this person's fault, this person's fault. You can't blame nobody. It happens. I'm like, when I talked to Miss Parlett, and Miss Parlett was okay with the situation, like, I understand, like, it really hurt. It ain't just hurt her, it hurt me, it hurt Marcus, it hurt a lot of people. So you can't just point the blame at nobody. I'm like, what if all of us would have left? Then what? I'm like, I didn't want him to lose his life. I didn't want nobody to lose their life.
I would have never thought in a million years that we would have been on that street at that time of the night and that would have happened.
I mean, if you really think about it, man, just being a teenager, not even just being a teenager, you had your fights, you had your scuffles, it happens. You don't think somebody gonna really come back shooting at you trying to kill you because you had a fist fight with them, and that's just the day and age we live in now.
For the longest, it bailed on my shoulders, like bad, like so many different scenarios went through my head, like, you know, where I was in my life, you know, where he was in his life. Not saying that one person's life is more than the next person's life, but, you know, like, me questioning God, like, why couldn't, you know, it been me, or, you know, like, why it just had to be him, you know, when it was all us in the car, or, you know, like, what if he didn't come with us that night? I hope one day that you know, I can lift that burden completely off my shoulders, but like right now, I still think about all the things that could have happened to make that situation not happen.
Police say he shot his estranged wife inside a hospital room. Shot and killed by police.
Frightened for themselves and their family.
Everyone we spoke to today has the same message. It's going to take everyone working together to make every street in the city safe again.
We're living in an era where we have seen so much violence taking place against young African Americans in America, period, with the killing of Trayvon Martin, Tamir Rice, Eric Garner. So what I have seen is a movement grow out of this, and in that movement has been hashtag Black Lives Matter. My message has been, and my message will always be the same, that Black lives do matter, but it has to matter to Black people first. So we see individuals that are willing to go out and stage riots and really stand up and protest for an injustice, but overlook the injustice that is taking place within the Black community when it comes down to what we're doing to ourselves. That's like saying I have a disease, just cure half of it and let the rest of my body rot away. We have to start putting value on Black lives ourselves. We have to stop doing what we're doing to ourselves.
We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains.
When a cop kills someone Black, or maybe a white kills a Black, that there's a protest, and it's a significant amount of protest, and lack of trust, I think, goes into a lot of that. But to me, when I go to these murders, I go to just about every murder in Baton Rouge. And when I go, I just don't see anyone saying this, we had enough. If we did that in every case, every homicide, it'd be a lot. It'd be maybe 80 times a year that you'd have to get off your couch and go somewhere to say, you know what, this isn't right. I don't care who you are, from any walk of life, come, but particularly in that community. Take over your community.
We can help these kids, being whether it's the parents or the grandparents or sisters and brothers. We need to get some of these kids off the streets. We really do.
In recent years, a Baton Rouge area violence elimination program was implemented to reduce youth violence. One of their tactics is community call-outs.
We are you. We just an older version of you. If you think we didn't have choices to make you wrong, this is your way out. That's all there is.
Call out is where all the kids come out and you're in trouble. You get to come in and they try to talk to you and intervene with you and talk to you. And, hey, man, you need to stop this. You're headed to jail. And they show you everything what you're doing. They show the people that came before you, and in the call-outs, they show them on the screen where they got 99 years, they got 37 years, they got 50 years, and the kids they show you, like, these guys were the last guys in here before you, and they all in jail now. This is your last resort to change.
Our messages is extremely simple. We tell them, put your guns down and take our help. We have service providers that are going to put you at the top of the list. I'd rather put you in class and in school and in college than put you in jail. I know message is not always accepted, and that's why we have community members that talk at these call-ins, and we have faith-based members that talk. Because historically in the country, law enforcement is represented by white people, like me, at a call-in, like the chief of police now, or the sheriff. And the message coming from me is not always heard or not always listened to. However, when my message is followed up with preachers who are black and who these kids recognize, community members who are athletes, who are big business people, who are morticians, who are former chiefs of police, former sheriffs, all who are black, and when they give up the same message and they all say we're together, it's hit home for several kids.
Despite successful years for the BRAVE program, in 2015, Baton Rouge experienced a spike in murders.
We don't want it to get back to where it was. We want the community to accept the police. There's got to be a lot of truth-telling that goes on, and when I open up my message to them, I tell them that law enforcement has not historically treated them fairly. And as a white person, I let them know that law enforcement has historically not treated blacks fairly. And they have to hear that, they have to understand that it's coming from me, not from the preacher, not from anyone else, but we have to get behind that. So that's over with. Now just put your guns down, don't shoot.
It's not going to be an overnight difference. Nothing's going to be an overnight solution. But little by little, the more that people become involved in these kids' lives and show them that there is a path to success and that there is hope and there are people that care, all of those things will make a difference. And sports is a big one.
It's a lot of kids that, you know, wish they could play basketball for their school. It's a lot of kids that, you know, they dream to be like Stephen Curry or you know, Adrian Peterson or, you know, one of those guys, but because of their situation, they're forced to, you know, either drop out of school or, you know, they stand up, they gotta go to work, you know, so they're making poor decisions. They like, just forget it. I don't care about sports. I don't care about anything, you know. But deep down inside, those kids, they really care and they really want to do good. It's just that when, you know, life continue to kick you down, it's like some people, they just stay down, you know, and never rise above.
We're trying to meet those young kids through early childhood development. If they don't have the parents there that will mentor or be the parents that should be, we want to get those kids into some form of program to get them off the streets.
I think that's a great value of athletics is coaches like Harvey Adger, Carlos Sample, the late Larry Grantham from Terra who passed away recently. A good job of trying to give people whether it's a father figure, whether it's just support, you need to be able to give that and to give kids more opportunities to have positive role models and to be involved in positive things.
We need more leaders in the city. That's what we need. We need more mentors. Like, in this situation right here, this story right here is a great story to help the younger generation. I'm not blaming nobody. It wasn't nobody's fault that happened. That's a part of life. Life goes on. But this a lesson learned right here. We didn't just lose one person. We lost like a legend. He touched the city.
Before Ryan, there was someone before him. And before him, there was someone before him. And you ask yourself, when will it all end? When will it all end? As what's happening right now, they say Black Lives Matter. And we understand that all lives matter. But it seems like it's more of our young black youth that are not appreciative or having that self-love for one another, to value one another, how important it is to have a life. And you can imagine how sad it is to take one.
You know, there's so much talent, so much potential that is lost every time one of these crimes is committed, where it's youth on youth. And, you know, I would just tell them to just stop and think about what you're doing for a second. And what you're about to do is going to affect your life. It's going to affect your family's life. It's going to affect the victim and his family, her family. And there's a lot better decisions that can be made.
I look at everything different now, you know what I'm saying? And like, a lot of the stuff that people take for granted, bro, you shouldn't, man. And like, it just made me want to be a better person, bro. Just knowing everything that we've been through, and it just get taken from you like that, you don't want that to happen again. So you're gonna do whatever you gotta do to it, you know what I'm saying? Keep it from happening.
Ryan was a good dude, good spirit, great attitude. And unfortunately, you know, a bad situation happened to a good person, so things can happen to anybody.
We can say that he left too early, you know, but I think when God called you, he called you. You know, we don't know when he's gonna call you. We don't know how long you are here to impact others. But I think that Ryan Francis, his legacy will live on because he didn't live for just himself. I believe he lived for others. And that's why, you know, his name still is being carried on.
I made it, but I only took baby steps from when my brain was at when the 80s left. I promise you, life is a crazy mess. My mind gone, and I think I could still remember the day left. People that love to end up say they hope and pray blessed. And all my haters be like, and I pray stress. My big homie died till this day I pray rest in eternal peace. A victim of these BR streets. I spill my guts on these BR beats. That's where my pain and my hustle meets. And had shootouts over money and art. My brain be at war with my heart. The devil shot me for my soul like my shit be bought. I teach that real like that shit be taught. They don't want to listen. Young don't respect nothing but television. So when my neck and my wrists and my rims glisten, that's when they all pay attention. And sometimes I ask God why, looking at the Louisiana sky. Why the fake live and the real die underneath the Louisiana sky? Man, sometimes I wipe tears from my eye, looking at the Louisiana sky. All I can do is stay fly, Lord knows I try, underneath the Louisiana sky.